Tonight, the push for impeachment. Speaker Pelosi meeting with members of her party as calls to impeach the president grow louder. Plus, conservatives say they're being censored on social media. Why some believe they're the targets of discrimination based on their political beliefs. And we sit down with a Senate chaplain tasked with preaching grace on Capitol Hill. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Infrastructure hits the brakes, abruptly ending talks between Democrats and President Trump. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. President Trump demanding Democrats end what he calls their phony investigations before he'll negotiate with them.
Amber Strong breaks down the explosive chain of events in tonight's top story.
The hope to move forward on actual policy between the president and leading Democrats came to an abrupt halt Wednesday as tensions boiled over. A bipartisan meeting led to dueling press conferences.
The whole thing with Russia was a hoax.
I pray for the President of the United States.
The president first speaking to reporters in the Rose Garden.
Instead of walking in happily into a meeting, I walk in to look at people that had just said that I was doing a cover-up. I don't do cover-ups.
Moments later, Democrats firing back, claiming the president planned to cancel the meeting all along.
It's clear that this was not a spontaneous move on the president's part. And he went to the Rose Garden with prepared signs that had been printed up long before our meeting.
President Trump maintains he was reacting to this accusation from Speaker Nancy Pelosi earlier in the day.
And we believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up.
Pelosi walking a fine line, insisting the House is making progress in its investigations while stoking the flames for impeachment. Some House members are happy to comply.
You guys know that I'm for impeachment. I've always been for impeachment. I've never backed up.
Now, the president says he wouldn't be surprised by the I word or impeachment, but so far Democrats have only called for an inquiry into the I word. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Amber. And President Trump responded on Twitter to Pelosi's comment about praying for him, saying, "Nancy, thank you so much for your prayers. I know you truly mean it."
Meanwhile, a breakthrough in the stalemate between the Justice Department and House Democrats. DOJ saying it will hand over documents from Robert Mueller's Russia investigation to a key House panel. But there is a catch. DOJ pledging to cut off cooperation if Democrats on the Intelligence Committee want to punish Attorney General Bill Barr for not releasing the full Russia probe. Writing, quote, "The Department of Justice will not continue should the committee take the unnecessary and unproductive step of moving to hold the Attorney General in contempt." Chairman Adam Schiff appeared to accept the terms, postponing a vote to enforce a subpoena for Barr. And here now with us is CBN News chief political analyst David. Let's talk about all that happened today at the White House and impeachment and the back and forth between Democratic leadership and President Trump. What do you make of it all?
There's so much to unpack here. Look, first of all, Nancy Pelosi had fighting words today. She said the words cover up. That brings back to mind Watergate, and quite frankly, these are very tactical and politically smart words by Pelosi. She knows exactly what she's doing. And by saying the words cover up, that got Trump's hide up. And when Trump's hide got up and Nancy Pelosi was in the same room, boom, we have an Amber Strong lead story package tonight. The point is that there was a lot of tension in that room. And but you, in a way, you can't blame the president here. I mean, the Speaker of the House, third in line to the presidency, accused the President of the United States of a cover-up, and yet the Mueller report said there wasn't any cover-up because there were no charges of obstruction and no conspiracy with Russia.
David, we know it's because of the cover-up accusation, but we're talking about infrastructure, something that all Washington thought we could actually see some movement on. So this is something that Democrats want. This is something President Trump wants and he's campaigned on. What's the prognosis for getting any legislating through until 2020 if we're talking about a breakdown on something as bipartisan as this?
Yeah, it's on life support right now. As a matter of fact, probably just not going to happen. I mean, this was the last best chance at it. And also the U.S.-Mexico trade or Canada trade agreement as well. That could also die. So I think at this point we're seeing it all pretty much go and evaporate away. This is something we talked about a year ago during the midterm elections. We said if Democrats take control of the House, what would happen? Here we are. Just at a stalemate. And so I think that's eventually what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to look at impeachment at this point, potentially down the road here. We'll see.
David, maybe too early to tell, but who's better positioned to win this debate, Democrats or the administration, Republicans?
Well, I have to tell you, I think the president is probably in the best position here. And so why exactly? Well, he can run out the clock. And also, let's also remember, most importantly, that Bill Clinton, as we talked about yesterday, when he was impeached by the House, his poll numbers went up. And so Donald Trump is saying, go ahead, try to impeach me, because if you're going to make this about me, well, guess what? It was about me in 2016, and I won against Hillary Clinton. And that's exactly what Nancy Pelosi is afraid of.
This is all really boiling down to impeachment, or at least laying the groundwork for impeachment for some Democrats. Pelosi has been opposed to impeachment, but have we reached the point of no return here?
I think we're very, very close. And Nancy Pelosi took a long leap in that direction by using the words cover-up. Because how can you say the President of the United States is involved in a cover-up and then not go ahead and start impeachment proceedings? I mean, that would be somewhat duplicitous on her part to say the President is covering something up and then say, but I don't want to impeach him? I mean, at that point, morally, wouldn't you have to say, well, I do want to impeach the President, or at least go along those routes? So I think she took a step. Why did she take that step? Because I think she's losing the caucus. I think that it's not just AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. I think there are more now in the party that are saying we need to go down this route. Pelosi doesn't want to do it, but she may be forced to. Beto
O'Rourke last night had his CNN town hall and was asked the question about impeachment. He said that he believes it's time to start these proceedings. Is this now going to be a litmus test for all the Democratic White House hopefuls? And if so, are there any who will say, no, we don't believe in impeachment?
It is going to be a litmus test. We're waiting to see who, for example, Joe Biden. We don't know yet exactly what Biden thinks. I have a list here because, you know, I'll forget. But right here, for impeachment, Elizabeth Warren, we know. Beto is out saying yes for impeachment, and so is Kamala Harris. But undecided is Joe Biden, Amy Klobuchar, and also Mayor Pete specifically hasn't said whether or not he is for impeachment. He's kind of not waffled, but kind of been around the issue. The folks that have said no, though, I will say this, Bernie Sanders and Cory Booker have both said no, we shouldn't go down impeachment. So that road. So there is a split among the Democrats, and that will be interesting to watch to see how the poll numbers relate to their stance on impeachment.
It's going to be a huge issue in 2020, and I think, David, we see that today with what happened at the White House. This is not an issue that's going away. It's not going to be resolved before 2020. Just how big of a factor do you think it'll be?
Well, I think it's going to be everything, and here's why. Some on the right will call it Trump derangement syndrome in terms of what folks have. I'm not calling it that, by the way. I'm just simply saying that the critics of Trump cannot get past the fact that he is not only president of the United States, that was a problem in 2016 or when he took office in 2017, but now with everything that's come out, with all of these potential obstruction of justice episodes that are laid out in the Mueller report, they've had enough. And I think it's just a boiling point. It's an overflow. And so therefore, I think that is where all the oxygen is. I think that's where we're going in 2020. And in infrastructure and the trade deal, forget it all. I think it's impeachment or bust at this point for Democrats.
And it seems as though President Trump is laying it all on the line here with that.
Yeah, he's like, go ahead and impeach me. Yeah. But I'm not sure it's going to work for Democrats.
All right. David Brody, thank you so much for being with us. Well, 2020 presidential candidate Cory Booker says if he is elected, he'll create a White House Office of Reproductive Freedom. The proposed office would work to coordinate reproductive health issues across federal agencies, including access to abortion, paid leave, and maternal health care. Booker also says he'd issue executive actions aimed at protecting abortion rights. Well, Democratic candidate Kirsten Gillibrand is rolling out a new economic policy proposal aimed at improving health care for moms and their children. The New York senator is calling it the Family Bill of Rights, saying she wants to make it easier for people to start a family. As a part of the policy, Gillibrand says everyone will have a right to a safe and healthy pregnancy, including requiring insurance companies to cover in vitro fertilization for women with difficulties trying to become pregnant. It also makes adoption a right regardless of sexual orientation or income level. The Family Bill of Rights also includes the creation of a national paid family and medical leave insurance program and universal pre-K.
Well, social media is being called a new frontier of discrimination against conservatives. Increasing numbers are being suspended, filtered, and banned. And big tech's conduct has caught President Trump's attention. Dale Hurd has the story.
Many conservatives feel like second-class citizens on social media, where now simply posting conservative policies could get you in trouble. Facebook last week suspended conservative Candace Owens after she posted that liberal policies were harmful to the black family. Facing an outcry, Facebook claimed the suspension was a mistake. Twitter suspended Heritage Foundation media director Greg Scott for so-called hateful conduct after simply tweeting to a transgender athlete the physical differences between men and women. Conservative actor James Woods, with 2 million Twitter followers, left the platform altogether after Twitter suspended him for this tweet that quoted Ralph Waldo Emerson. Author and radio host Eric Metaxas.
We just have to say this is wrong. This is fundamentally un-American, and it must be addressed. It will undermine our voting process. It will undermine self-government. It's already doing that. When you control information, you control everything.
A new study published by the left-wing Columbia Journalism Review confirmed that search giant Google skews heavily liberal in its search results. Only one conservative news source popped up in Google's top 20, Fox News. Dan Gaynor of the Media Research Center says no one should be surprised. Google is liberal.
They set up rules that are liberal. They hire staff who are liberal. The staff give politically to liberal candidates. And then when you appeal it, you have to talk to the liberal staff. And, it's just sort of, we're boxed in on all sides.
A Project Veritas undercover investigation found the same anti-conservative attitudes at Twitter.
Pretty sure every single employee at Twitter hates Trump.
And when companies like Facebook start deciding who is allowed to have free speech, this First Amendment lawyer says we should all be concerned.
Facebook gets content moderation wrong all the time. They take down speech that most reasonable people think shouldn't be taken down, and they leave up other speech that a lot of people think should be taken down.
President Trump has taken notice, setting up an online tool for reporting censorship on social media. The White House has also refused to sign on to a new global compact to monitor online speech in what some call a worldwide attempt to censor conservatives. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
A racist yearbook photo tied to the governor of Virginia. Up next, what an investigation has uncovered.
An investigation into a racist photo featured in the Virginia governor's medical school yearbook has come to a close, and it seems it still can't be determined if Ralph Northam is one of the men featured in either wearing blackface or wearing a KKK hood.
With respect to the photograph on Governor Northam's personal page depicting an individual in blackface and an individual in KKK robes, we could not conclusively determine the identity of either individual depicted in that photograph. The governor himself has made inconsistent public statements in this regard. No individual that we interviewed has told us from personal knowledge that the governor is in that photograph, and no individual with knowledge has come forward to us to report that the governor is in the photograph.
The law firm hired to investigate the picture also says they can't determine how the picture wound up on Northam's yearbook page, also finding no evidence it was placed there by mistake or as a prank. Eastern Virginia Medical School is apologizing for the 35-year-old photo.
That photo's publication in 1984 was a failure of the administrative oversight on the part of EVMS. Its publication was particularly hurtful to the African American community and our academic community. It should never have happened.
When news broke of the photo back in February, it prompted immediate calls for the governor to resign, including from the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus and key Democratic groups in the Commonwealth. But Northam defied those calls, saying he wanted to use the rest of his time in office to focus on addressing racial inequalities.
Well, turning to the southern border now, the Trump administration is set to hire Virginia's former Attorney General to coordinate immigration policy at the Department of Homeland Security. Ken Cuccinelli is known for having aggressive opinions on immigration policy, but critics point out his lack of actual policy experience. Cuccinelli will answer to Acting Secretary Kevin McAleenan, who just today was up on Capitol Hill presenting the DHS budget request for the coming year, including asking for $5 billion for border security. Meanwhile, the president is continuing his push for a border wall, tweeting today, "Tremendous work is being done to renovate walls that are in bad condition and are ineffective."
A look at how the Senate chaplain helps keep the peace amid the political chaos on Capitol Hill.
Senate Chaplain Barry Black is being recognized for his support of religious freedom. Black has been awarded Beckett's 2019 Canterbury Medal. It's the Public Interest Legal Institute's top honor and is given to those who are dedicated to defending religious freedom for all faiths in the U.S. and around the world. Black will accept the honor at the Canterbury's Medal Annual Gala in New York City tomorrow.
Well, Chaplain Black has a tough job day in and day out. He pushes past partisanship to bring together members from both sides of the aisle for a greater calling.
Here's Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson on how he encourages lawmakers to keep their cool when tensions run high.
Do you think we're losing civility in our country?
I think that we are.
For 15 years, Senate Chaplain Barry Black has navigated politics, ministering to senators and their staff. He tells CBN News he's concerned by what's happening today.
You know, a lot of incivility has to do with arrogance, swagger, trash talking, and I think that it's critically important that we lower the decibels. Proverbs 15:1 says a soft answer turns away anger, and that we obey the golden rule.
Black says this rough and tumble world provides Christians a real opportunity.
I think Christians should be leading the charge in returning to civility by practicing what we teach and preach.
He witnesses that leadership in a group of 25 to 30 senators who attend his weekly Bible study.
One senator said, "It is very difficult to pray for one another and then to leave the prayer breakfast and go up to the chamber and verbally stab that person whose hand you've just been holding." We end the prayer breakfast joining hands and praying.
He adds that Americans would be surprised to know how much prayer happens daily inside the Capitol.
There are many, many lawmakers who are modeling civility. I think, Abby, the challenge is that the legislative process, by its very nature, is adversarial.
When asked about the president's often strident tweets, Black responded that God works in mysterious ways.
So my reaction is Romans 8:28. In everything, God is working for the good of those who love him, who are the called according to his purposes.
And as citizens, we need to remember the power in praying for wisdom for all our leaders.
The problems that we face require supernatural wisdom. We're not smart enough to solve many of our problems without divine guidance.
And when asked about a return to civility, Chaplain Black went back to the Bible, saying Christians need to humble themselves, turn from their wicked ways, and then God will fulfill his promise and heal our land. Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Still ahead, why some in the medical field are looking at alternative medicine for pain relief.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Welcome back. Indiana is the latest state to take legal action against a family who financially profited from the country's opioid crisis. The Indiana Attorney General is suing 8 members of the Sackler family, the pharmaceutical company owned by the family blamed for the rise of the drug OxyContin. The suit alleges staff told the Sacklers the powerful opioid was being abused and then went ahead and hired 100 additional sales reps. Indiana's new lawsuit says, quote, the Sacklers' ambition was to become unimaginably rich from the sale of opioids, although they well understood the addictive and dangerous qualities of the drugs they manufactured. Well, the opioid epidemic shows the powerful pain medication can often do more harm than good.
That's why doctors are looking for other ways to help treat pain. As Lori Johnson shows us, acupuncture may do the trick for many.
Like millions of Americans, Kyle Miller struggles with constant pain.
Stiffness, soreness, and discomfort in my back. And actually, for the first time ever, my back totally went out.
This chronic pain is the kind that lasts 3 months or more.
It could be chronic headaches, it could be chronic pelvic pain, which is common in both men and women. It could become low back pain, which is probably the most common.
A complicating factor is that many doctors and patients are turning away from traditional treatment methods.
But really we look at surgery as a last resort because it's not amazingly effective. A lot of people don't get relief from surgery. It's a lot to go through to have surgery.
Anti-inflammatory medication called NSAIDs like ibuprofen and naproxen can also cause problems.
Taking those too much increases risk of heart disease, definitely increases the risk of peptic ulcer disease, causes other problems in the digestive tract.
And there are also the many issues with prescription pain pills.
Especially now with the opioid epidemic and not wanting to use opioid pain medicines, not wanting to get people addicted to pain medicines, there's a real push on what else we can do.
That's why doctors are searching for new treatment options, such as acupuncture.
It's very well respected for certain conditions, including back pain and many chronic painful conditions. There are very good studies proving its benefit. Some people think it helps highlight areas in the brain that decrease the sense of pain. There are lots of different hypotheses about why it works, but it has been proven to help.
In fact, the American College of Physicians now backs acupuncture for treating low back pain.
What I'd like to recommend for all my new patients is to try it first before you do anything else, because it doesn't have any long-term negative side effects. I like to recommend at least 5 sessions for you to see some changes. And after 5, you'll know if it's going to work for you or not.
Patients of acupuncturist Grace Suze generally undergo 30-minute sessions once or twice a week.
It helps by increasing circulation simply. And research shows that it increases something called nitric oxide, which has been shown to decrease inflammation, lower blood pressure, help with pain management.
And yes, it means needles, but they're super thin.
You barely feel anything. You definitely don't feel them really being inserted. It's not painful. And then, you relax with the needles in for a few moments, and it either feels like nothing or honestly it puts me to sleep.
She only inserts them into the skin's top layer.
Very superficial, so we never go near the nerve or at the nerve.
Although most of Grace's patients want pain relief, she also treats digestive problems, hormone issues, you name it.
Believe it or not, acupuncture is often used for cosmetic purposes. I'm getting an anti-aging treatment that smooths fine lines and wrinkles. It's great for people who don't want to use injectables like Botox.
Grace often treats people struggling with substance abuse, including sugar addiction.
What I focus on is calming the nervous system down, relaxing the body, helping them sleep. Because if you are sleeping really well the night before, then the next day, your blood sugar is more managed, you're more relaxed, and therefore you'll make better choices.
Whereas acupuncture pierces the skin in strategic spots, acupressure involves applying force to those areas.
Massaging this part of the hand treats red, puffy eyes. Near the wrist, vomiting and nausea. And the middle of the forehead, stress and headaches.
So whether you take matters into your own hands or go to a professional, stimulating the body's natural ability to fight pain and other problems could help you avoid issues from other treatments. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
I always learn something new from Lori.
I love her stories.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great night.